If you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. And it is for the players. It's not just a game. A game is Monopoly. A game is, you know, Scrabble. A game is, you know, any video game. This is much different. In fact, a lot of world-class players actually call it sport. And they have Olympiad every 2 years from around the world. It's quite the deal. It's huge. I wish it was bigger in this area, but we're going to try to change that.
Just a few reasons why John Cordisco started the Broome County Chess Championship nearly 4 years ago. Players got together in Binghamton to compete for a big trophy and prize at Cordisco's Chess Center on Shenango Street Saturday.
When you're playing chess on tournament day, you forget about everything else in life, and all you worry about is 32 pieces and 64 squares.
Games run through Sunday with nearly a dozen people competing this weekend. There are 2 categories, open and reserve, for players of different skill levels. Many hope championships like these will bring more people to the game.
There are now ways to play that are kind of high-tech on the internet, but it's really a very old game, and I don't know why it doesn't. I think we just need someone like Fischer to give chess a shot in the arm.
For the younger people, I think that's a great thing because they really have to think, and you know, when they're on Facebook or they're playing their video games, and it just becomes second nature, but this really makes them think.
But the event means more to Cordisco than just handing out trophies. Every year, he holds it in honor of his brother Francis, keeping his memory alive.
My youngest brother, he wasn't a chess player, he was a hockey goalie. He was a good one too, but he passed away a couple of years ago. My parents were pretty emotional when I first did it, and his 2 boys, my nephews, you know, they know about it, and they really appreciate it. It's pretty cool. It's just something that I do, you know, to honor him. It's sad in a way, but it also isn't, too, that he still carries on.
Building blocks of a tradition that means so much to so many in the Southern Tier, and one that Cordisco hopes will make chess big again. In Binghamton, Elise Micalanis.
Welcome to Tashkent 2014, one of the preliminary tournaments leading up to the candidates final for the World Championship Challenger. It's in a series, a FIDE Grand Prix series. A lot of great players in here, but especially for me is my buddy Carl Nakamura is in it, and I hope Carl does well. Anyway, folks, FIDE Grand Prix series, Tashkent 2014. Games coming up. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Another game from round 3 of the FIDE Grand Prix in Tashkent 2014. It's a game between Mamedyarov as white and Boris Gelfand as black. Remember Boris, he was the challenger prior to Magnus Carlsen winning the World Championship from Vichy Anand. Great player. Let's get to it. It's going to be a fun opening. It's going to be a King's Indian. And it's usually leaves with some wild stuff, so let's get to it. I'll go through the opening quickly here. We're not really worried about the opening. It's pretty much standard stuff. Typical King's Indian. Pawn takes, bishop g4. Now here we are. Pretty much a standard King's Indian. Another way to go is rook to e8, then rook to e1. After bishop g4, got the Fritz computer on off screen, my Fritz 13, and it's about 2/3 of advantage, half of pawn advantage for white. Nothing serious. e4. Black's a little cracked, as black always is in a King's Indian. Rook e8, queen c2. Put an extra guard, of course, on the pawn because it's being hit twice. Black develops the other knight, and of course the last minor piece for white's developed, bishop f4. Now, interesting move here. I'm not so sure. I'm looking at the computer, and queen to e7 seems to be the #1 move, and queen to b6. Black plays bishop takes and bishop takes, and I was really surprised at that. Now, Boris Gelfand is one of the best theoreticians in openings almost ever in the history of the game. I think maybe Garry Kasparov may be the only one that worked harder at chess than Boris does. And that's what Gary said for years, that about Vinnik, former world champion, that was close to Gary when he played for the world championship when he won. It says, you work on your chess, it'll reward you. You'll always be new and exciting ideas, and you'll always be in the cutting edge. And he was right. Knight to e5 for black. Going after the light squared bishop here. Now, there's really nowhere for the bishop to go, so he just goes to e2. He wants to keep it. Even though technically that's his bad bishop, he does have the bishop pair. A6. I think that was in response to maybe he was worried about white playing A4. And he plays A4 anyway. Rook C8. Black wants to move the pawn to C4 and then go B4. Pawn takes, and he's got pretty good advanced pawns already. Rook A to E1. Interesting would have been A5 and then C4 anyway. After rook to E1, queen to B6. Now, according to the computer, white has an active position. I don't think black's that bad either, and it's a small advantage, a tiny one for white. Rook to A1. He moves the rook back. Now, that's a sign of a good player. He made a mistake by putting the A rook on E1, and he's putting it back now. C4, A5. That was his intention. Chase the queen off. Queen to D8. I think the queen would have gotten a little bit of a jam if queen had come here. Then after rook, the queen has to come here, and then bishop here, and then the queen comes back. I think it's a lot better for white. So retreated the queen, bishop E3 anyway. He's going to start bringing the knight around. I think he's looking to bring the knight here, and that's a damn good spot for that knight. Knight to A4, H5. You see that a lot in King's Indian where black pushes the kingside pawns. If you're wondering what happened if queen takes A5, after knight B6, the queen's trapped. Where's it going to go? It's doomed. After H5, H3, kind of put a little bit of hold on the G4 square here. Queen E7, got the queen right off that side of the board. It's just trouble anyway. Rook A to C1. Now this is an interesting move, and the computer agrees. It's the second choice, but a close second. It's king to H7. That move I really don't understand. Maybe somebody can make a comment in the comment sections below the video why you think that was a good move. Knight to D3 was also suggested, and after bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, rook takes, queen takes. Interesting. After king to H7, B3 for white, pawn takes, queen takes. Now white's made some advancement here. It's almost a point and a half advantage here. I don't really see how, but I just don't like that knight on A4, but we're going to have to see how that works out. Knight to F6. He's bringing the knight around the king side. Queen to B4. Interesting enough, though, the computer liked F3. I'm not so sure if I would cut off the bishop, but he did want to reinforce his pawn here. Queen to B4, rook takes, bishop H6. Maybe that was the reason for the king to H7 move. Seeing that, he could basically almost force the trade of bishops, which he does. And after king takes, knight to B6. Now, where's that knight going to go? I really don't know. We'll have to see how this works out. Knight, of course, he takes it. Knight takes. Now that was a good trade for white. I think his knight was out of play almost completely, and he traded a bad knight for a decent black knight. So I think that was a good trade. Queen takes the pawn, knight C5. Queen takes, rook takes. Probably didn't like to do it, but he has to go F3. I mean, how's he going to guard that pawn again? Go rook here? You know, not much good. So he has to go F3. And there he goes, right after the pawns. Rook to B1. Pawn takes. Rook to B6. Now he's basically saying he's ganging up on that pawn, but this pawn is also in Prix as well. It's a good spot for that white rook. E takes, bishop takes, rook d7. Now, I think white's play in the last 4 or 5 moves lost most of his advantage. It's less than a half a point advantage now for white. King to f2, start getting your king up in the action. I mean, they both got isolated pawns. Here, 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 and here. I mean, how are you going to defend them? That pawn on e5 is going to be a little tough for white to defend, being he has a light squared bishop. King to g5, king in e3, he's coming right up. King to f6, king to d4. Now he's got his king in the center of the board. He's defending the d5 pawn, but I think his a5 pawn is really the problem. Rook to d8, bishop e2. Now he's going after that pawn. And what's he going to do? Move his rook to a8? I mean, he can't. Takes the pawn with check. He has to give up a pawn. But white doesn't take it yet. He goes here first. Rook to b8. Rook checks. King f6. This is a very interesting endgame. I don't know, my famous saying on a lot of my videos is what to do, what to do. Rook takes the knight. Now, it looks like a dead draw on the computer. Rook to c6 is a suggested move. But white decides to take the knight. Has to take back, king takes. Now he's got a bishop and a pawn for a rook. Granted, the light squared bishop is guarding this square here, so it's tough for her to get in. But once this rook gets active in here, he can raise all kinds of hell. Rook to c8 check, king b6, king e5, coming up after that d5 pawn. Bishop takes, rook to c2. Now the computer has this at 0.00 for the 3 suggested moves. Bishop f1 to guard it. Rook f2. If king had taken a6, and that's it. Black loses. Or excuse me, yeah, black loses. After rook to f2, bishop c4. Now I think this is where Boris Gelfand, who's a world-class player, he stumbles. He takes the pawn. And that's the losing move. And how natural a move is that? King to d6 was the only chance. After rook takes, a6, rook f2, king c5, rook f8, bishop b5. How's he going to stop that pawn? d6, got the other pawn going now. King e6, king has to come back. h4. That move I don't understand. Also was a computer move. g5, pawn takes, h4, d7 of Mamedyarov. He's just squeezing him. Right now it's over. King e7, g6, h3, g7, h2, and now bishop c6, which just seals his doom. And that's where Boris Gelfand resigns. To give you an idea what would have happened after b6, rook, a7, queen, bishop takes, king takes, a8, rook takes, bishop takes, and it's over. Anyway, folks, that's another game from round 3. Tough break for Boris Gelfand. Had a drawing move and he missed it. That's unlike Boris. Anyway, folks, I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Right, check it. 3 aces. Nice, but nicer. Full house.
Ooh.
Nice.
Royal flush. I got nothing.
Oh, I was like, good gracious, ass bodacious, flirtatious.
What's going on? Get back to bed.
Feel young again. Centrum Silver.